In the US, it's the Thanksgiving holiday today, and I guess I'm feeling a little bit sentimental. In the spirit of giving thanks, I thought it would be really fun to grab another prominent content creator, tournament organizer, and just generally GA superfan, the one and only Shinja, to have just sort of a candid, cozy, fun conversation about what GA has meant to us so far, where we came from, what we appreciate about the Grand Archive trading card game and Weebs the Shore, and where we're going with everything. This did become a little bit long, but honestly, the time just flew by talking with Shinja and sharing our anecdotes and experiences and wisdom. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation, and in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to thank all of you, our Grand Archive fans or our curious fans from other card games, for stopping in, watching Maindeck, subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, commenting, everything you do. It has meant so much to us, and it will continue to mean a lot to us going forward. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this candid conversation about Grand Archive with the one and only Shinja. Today, I have a very exciting guest, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. We have Shinja, the well-known Discord commenter and
I
member of...
live on the Discord. I spend a little too much time.
Today, I was looking back to find a particular post you made, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to use the search function. I can't just scroll through. And
It's funny. It's funny. I used to when I used to work at a card shop, which we can go more a little later, but I have a couple of friends who their weekly meeting was how many messages has Shinja made on the Discord, and they would count, he made 5,000 messages, and then he'll do hey, guess how many he did this week, or how big that number increased, and they're we're all jumping out numbers. They'll look it up on Discord, oh dude, he did 4,000 messages, so he did 1,000 messages in a week. I'm like, oh my God, I live on this. I message so much on this Discord.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But you're a well-known person in the community now, obviously. If anyone who's plugged to the Discord sees you commenting all the time. And Shinja, you are also one of the members of TM32. And TM32, I want to make sure people are aware that, we just had the announcement the last week. You guys are plugged into our Worlds content coverage. Is that right?
Yes. So we and there's a couple of backstory to that. So just to provide context for everybody, I was super into the game and passionate about the game when I started researching it back in January of this year. So compared to some other community members, I'm relatively new, right? So I started my content journey with GA around that time, and that's when I started contacting the actual official team to do a first edition box opening. So that kind of opened up the gateway with our line of communication. And then once Alter released back in April, my friend / boss, his name is Chabo, he was reached out and said, hey, would you like to host a Dawn of Ashes regionals? So both of us, we agreed because we both love the game. And to this day, I think that was the biggest regional so far. It had 111 participants. There's a lot of variants to that. It's the first event buff, and everyone's excited to play, and all those other things. But it reached 3 digits for a brand new game, and granted, also again, California does have a lot of players, so there's a lot of little things on top of that. And that got the ball rolling, right? So we visited them at AX. They asked us to do the Fracture Crown regionals, and and that they saw that we were also passionate about the game, and we also want to help grow the local SoCal scene or Southern California scene. So we were reached out, hey, do you want to host an Ascent in California? So now we have Ascent Ontario. And subsequently, they saw Chaubo, who has a lot of experience with event management and event organizing, and they said, hey, we need some help with Worlds. And we basically said, hey, we love to help you out. We love to organize it. And honestly, I did not think I would be here, 4 months ago when the game first dropped, or 5 months ago. And yeah, so we're now organizing Worlds. We are basically a TO, so we're organizing the World Championship where 16 invited players come in. who topped nationals in 3 different regions. And we also are hosting Ascent Vegas, which is more of a free to join, like you buy a ticket and anyone can come and play. Where we actually we're going to be debuting a team format for the first time, and those we are organizing 2 separate things so that way people have things to do even if you don't unfortunately qualify for the world's portion. And we are more focused on video production and content creation, so we're also going to be covering the world championship side of things as well.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are all over the place. You are super involved
Yeah.
in everything. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said you just got back from NYC too. You were up with the team helping at Anime NYC.
Yeah, so for everyone at home, excuse my it looks actually pretty good, but
It's not
this
bad.
is our hotel room. We actually just flew back today. I just landed like 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, something like that. And we were just in New York. We were at Anime NYC. We were helping the booth, but mainly we were there for coverage, right? So we were shooting stuff for our channel, but hopefully we can get some stuff for their socials and different kinds of stuff. And yeah, it was. There was also some personal reasons why I went to New York, which is more like the vacation portion of it. But while we were happened to be there, we reached out to Weebs and said, "Hey, we'll go ahead and help out the booth. Why not?" And it was a lot of fun. I personally think the New York scene is not as developed as let's say like the West Coast or somewhere where, like, for example, like Andy with Yeti Gaming, like his region is huge, right? And same with like Webway Games with Cam. So it was very nice to see so much interest when people came to the booth and asked for demos. And it was me, Chris, who is not GG on the Discord, and a couple of volunteers. We were basically just chugging through demos. My voice is dead, like it was dying.
I feel that.
Yeah, and we brought starter decks, or the team brought starter decks, so that way, hey, if you are interested in continuing the game, they can buy that starter deck and play a full game. And we sold out, which was great. It was like a lot of our demo players. I think we had like a 95% conversion rate where like people tried the demo and 95% of them went and bought a starter deck immediately
Wow.
after, which was fantastic. And I think it just goes to show how, like, the game is like somewhat easy to learn, but it's so hard to master, and there's so much things that you could do with the game that people see that and they go, wow, like I can do things that I want, or oh, okay, I can see how I could build a deck that I want to play, right? And plus I think the people who did the demo, like Chris and we had Burner there, and it was one more person, but I forgot his name, so you'll have to excuse me. But I think we did the demos pretty well to where we could teach the game in a very elementary level, so they understand, but also tease all the advanced stuff. So they have to buy the decks to go figure out the advanced strategies,
Sure, you're
right? So
using your YouTube content creation strategies in your demo sessions now. Just
yeah.
tease them the first couple minutes, and come back for
That's
more.
I know I was doing that. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear, and it's great to hear how involved you are with everything. As I mentioned to you, the reason I kind of wanted to put this video out today. This video is releasing on for all of our U.S. viewers on Thanksgiving.
Oh wow,
As
yes, nice.
so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. This is just I guess I don't know. I was feeling I feel a little sappy, a little emotional this week. Thinking back,
Yeah.
because it's been a long journey with Grand Archive so far, even though they're only 2 sets deep. Like you said, you guys, I think you jumped in right around the end of the Kickstarter. If I think I looked back at when you first jumped into the server, I think it was around then. Um,
Yeah, I joined exactly January 1st, which I think was one day after it ended, which makes me a little sad.
yeah.
But
Did you
yes,
get
I
in the
was
Kickstarter?
there. No.
Oh
That's
no.
why that's why I was a little sad.
Yeah.
I joined because I was doing research for the shop that I worked at. Because we received a email from our distributor saying, "Hey, we have pre-orders open for Grand Archive." Uh, we had other things going on at the time, so we kind of pushed it aside for a bit, and then we're coming up upon that pre-order due date, and that's when we're like, all right, let's do our due diligence. Like, let's see, is this game worth our time? Like, should we order it? Because we know nothing about this game. So we like printed. At the time they had the Rye Lorraine print and play decks, so we did that, and I joined right around that time as well. Also, when I joined the Discord, um, Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was like a
Yeah,
little nostalgic.
it was. And then it was a couple of weeks ago. You went and in the Discord, you dug up my first post on the Discord and linked
Yeah,
me
that was
on
that's a
it.
wild story, and I feel like I've been here for quite a long time, even though it's only been like less than a year. But yeah, you've been around for a long
I was there
time.
when I joined. When I joined the Discord, I hopped in because apparently what happened was that they had like just put the Discord together,
Mm,
for a
yeah,
day or
yeah,
so, and they went on Facebook and they get. I think Facebook popped up one of those ads that's like you get $5 free ad credit or something, and they were like, "Yeah, why not?" And I think they just threw up some like random ad with a picture of Lorraine and a link to the website, and I happened to see it on Facebook, and I looked at it and thought so the thing I thought, I'm going to get back to my point here in a second, but the thing I thought when I saw this was I saw this picture of Lorraine. I had just been like on a run of like looking through basically every Kickstarter TCG that had been popped on Kickstarter since MetaZoo, effectively.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I saw this Lorraine level one, and I thought, I think this is the first people I've seen who actually have like their head on straight. Like this card looks good. Like this, I don't know why everyone has a hard time doing this, but I saw this and thought, this actually looks like something I'm gonna dig into. And I joined the Discord and I popped in and I was like, hey, what why are y'all here? What brings y'all to Grand Archive or whatever?
Yeah,
Um
it's a funny like night because I was hanging out in the Discord voice channel with a couple of people in Silodar, and like I forgot what prompted me to do this, but I was like, all right, what was the first message on this Discord, because I knew nothing about it, so I just sorted by oldest, found the first one. I just started scrolling down. It was very interesting to see like the birth of the server. I'm like, oh wow, Sildar is there, and obviously, and he's like chatting with all these people. And then I was just looking for names that are still around, and I was like, ah, there's Dan. And I told Sil, I was like, yo, Dan, like I found Dan. He's been here for a while. He's like, oh, you should reply. And I forgot what you asked, like a question,
yeah.
it's like, oh, what's your favorite card or something like that. And Solar was like, oh, you should reply with your favorite card.
Yeah,
And that's why I pinged it.
it was a 2 year late reply saying a character that didn't even exist at the time was the reason you were excited about Grand Archive or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, by the way, Diana, great choice. I'm also very pumped for
Oh,
Diana. So.
dude, it's so bad. I thought Merlin was a great character or champion, but oh man,
Mm.
when they revealed Diana, ooh, I switched sides so fast.
So,
Who's your favorite? I actually don't know.
I mean, I actually I didn't expect to be as big of a Merlin stan as I am, but
Yeah,
it was really for me. It was more gameplay than I like. I thought the character was a cool design or whatever, but when I
yeah.
started playing Fractured Crowns Merlin level 3, I was like, wow, this is my gameplay style to a T. I
Mm,
love this so much.
mm,
So I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped for Diana, and I'm really excited to see like the mechanics of Arasana, especially.
mm.
Um, but it's now going to take a little bit to drag me away. I might just have to play Merlin for life. I don't
You're
know.
kind of stuck
Yeah.
with the Merlin.
No, we'll see. I'm sure I'll be flexing around and trying all sorts of stuff. But yeah, probably those are probably my top two. I'm excited about Merlin and Diana also. So birds of a feather, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, I was feeling sappy, and I thought it would be really fun just to kind of get, I wanted to get you on here specifically
Mhm.
because of you guys, your deep involvement with everything. I figure the more you start to do for this game, the more I kind of feel this way about anyone who gets deep into like content creation or even like judging games or playing competitively as well. The more
Yeah.
and more you get into something, the more you tend to sort of feel an appreciation for the experience that thing has given you, I think. And I thought it'd be really fun just to sort of have an episode of a show where we're just going to talk a little bit about kind of what the game has done for us, sort of like a giving thanks theme, but also
Yeah.
um, just help everyone just kind of get to know, I think, you guys at TM32 a little better too.
Mhm.
Um, so we already talked quite a bit about kind of where we jumped into things. Sound like you were looking for your game store, just trying to do some due diligence, and then you fell
Yeah.
down a rabbit hole you couldn't escape from, a gravity
I'm
well.
still falling down this rabbit hole, man. Like I'm still going.
I would love to hear now in this long time that you guys have been working for effectively working for Weebs, working for Grand Archive, doing this kind of stuff.
Mm.
What are What are some of the best experiences you think you've had over the past year with Grand Archive or content creation or Weebs or demoing, or like what really stands out to you?
Man, that's tough because I feel like I'm in this like very fortunate opportunity to be doing what I am doing. And that goes with like, yes, Grand Archive and the community has enabled me to do this, but I also, my friend slash boss is also the one who is also enabling me to do this, right? So I feel like I'm this like weird spot where like technically everything is like has been a great experience so far. Um, but if I were to narrow it down, I have two particular moments that has a good reason why. I think the first one was when everyone gathered for Ascent Houston, mainly because at that point, Ascent Houston was around end of September, and it was their very first event. It was also one of the events that was advertised before the game even launched, right? So everyone had a heads up. Everyone knew that it was happening. It also sold out instantly almost.
Oh man,
Um,
that was
yeah,
so tough.
so there was a lot of expectation with this event, and at that point, it was like I've been with this that community for like about 7 months, 6 months since January, and I made friends with someone like Limelight and Byfall, and Dan, I didn't quite know you at the time, but I do know you as like, oh, you're the content creator, and you also talk on Discord, so it's like I haven't personally talked to you, but I do know you. I also know Red Zone Rogue and like all these different GA people, and the fact that I was able to go to one location and have all these people that I've been talking on Discord with. I saw you guys on YouTube. I watched all your videos, and all you guys are just there, right? And nor and it's like if you go to a lot of these events, some maybe it's pretty common for you, but I don't personally go to many of these types of events, right? When I make an online friend on Discord, I don't tend to meet them in person like ever because we both don't go to an event to see them, right? But the fact that I was able to see like five, six, seven, eight online Discord friends that I made specifically around GA and then got to see them in person was just like a magical moment. It was just like everyone was there sharing the passion of GA, and we all got to just everyone sharing the same passion. It was fantastic, and we also did like a very it was kind of jank in my opinion, but it was super last minute. But they asked us to do the top cut stream, and I didn't know if I was able to do that until I was physically at the venue to test out internet. So I didn't know this was going on until like a day before the event, right? So getting to do that and setting that up and getting and working with the Weebs team, and they were super accommodating. It was like, hey, where do you need to set up? What can I do? What can I move or whatever? And things just got done. And that was also a very magical experience getting that up, and then um watching True Champion Gaming like just sweep top cut with their ally deck, and watching Caben win the very first Ascent. That was also a very magical moment. So like Ascent Houston is probably one of my bigger, most memorable experiences.
Yeah,
Um,
that was, I mean, that was definitely going to be one of mine here too. It was the Super Smash
yeah.
Bros Ultimate of Grand Archive,
Yeah, like,
right?
oh, everyone's here. Like,
Everyone was here. Yeah, it was so cool just getting to meet the community. I still think it was like the bizarre thing for me. This is like the first time in my life I went anywhere and was like a minor celebrity or something, where like I kept getting people coming up to me like, "Oh, I love your videos." I was like, I was getting emotional. I didn't even know how to react after like the first time it happened. I was like, "Whoa, this is weird." And then like throughout the weekend it just like kept happening. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was like that in a way. Like I was like the semi fanboy too, because obviously for the stream before Ascent Houston, I knew I had to do a stream. I just didn't know if I could, but the possibility of it happening was there, right? So I was like, who's gonna cast? Like all the people I know that would cast, like they're gonna play. So
Yeah.
if they hit top cut, they can't cast for me, and it's like, oh, like what do I do? And eventually, like I started to wrangle some people, and Alan or Aldeus one of the days kind of came over and go, hey, hey Dan, like Dan's here, and I think he's interested in casting. Like, do you want it? And I'm like, oh my god, I feel kind of embarrassed, right? Like this is, I was like, oh
What
my
the heck?
god, like Dan, like there's like our setup's so jank, like oh my god. I think Red Zone also was there too, and so I was like, I was feeling the moment there, and when you agreed, I was like, oh my god, like that added a little bit more pressure too, because like, oh my god, I'm working with Dan, like
That's, that what's so funny about that is that like I got Alan came to me and said, "Hey Dan, you want to, do you want to commentate?" And I was like, they're really asking me to do it. Like, it's like the exact same thing in reverse. I just, but
yeah.
I was super excited to do it because I mean, I just love the game. And it's obviously when you, as you know, as when you do content creation, you're someone who just likes to talk about stuff
Oh yeah.
generally.
Oh yeah. Oh man, it's like, and this is like, I truly thank everyone who, I can't thank them enough, right? I have, Benton, Gazimus, Byfall Leo, and yourself, Dan, and Alan, who decided to volunteer your guys' time to help me with the cast, and the level of casting was just phenomenal in my opinion. We had really good top cut gameplay, and we had really good commentary that all of you guys understood what each deck does, but not only that, but just the strategies. When even like the view, right? Like you can't see people's hands sometimes, but you guys already knew, like, well, he's kind of in a pickle here. He has to play X, Y, or Z, and they happen to have it, and it's like it was amazing. I think that was a very very nice moment, and I truly appreciate everyone who decided to help me cast that. It was
Yeah.
great. I was a fan when watching and listening.
It was a great cast. Yeah, I mean, and doing it with Alan, I was like, I haven't really gotten to talk about this too much, but like it wasn't the first time. Alan and I have done a couple interviews in the past. So the cool thing
Yeah,
was I
you
was
mentioned
pretty
it. Yeah,
used to talking with Alan. I kind of understood his like his cadences, his mannerisms. Like, I got it. So like we
yeah,
were
yeah.
able to gel together, I felt pretty quickly. Um, but
You guys
it
had a
was
connection, man.
sorry, what's
you
that?
guys, you guys had a
Oh
connection.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. No, we had good chemistry, and
yeah,
he is super fun to do that chat with because he had that, like, actually the funniest thing I thought was when he was remembering the wrong version of a card because he knew so many iterations. I think it was like
oh
Dream
yeah.
Fairy or something. He was like remembering stats wrong or something because it
That's
went
like
through.
the issue with being a dev, right? It's
Yeah,
like what version, like beta test version or alpha test version, you know?
yeah. That was fun, but it was just great to get his deeper insight into sort of like why certain cards were designed. Like, did they design this card with the intention of how it's being used right now, or that kind of stuff? There's like
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that you could only get from that, and then before that, just having all these top level players doing it also, just like so. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful time. Even though it was a bit of a quick stream, quickly put together stream, it was super fun, and from what I heard from people too, well appreciated.
Yeah,
Just to have.
and I again thank the community too, because they were very nice. They were very understanding, which was amazing. I understand it was not as honestly, in my opinion, it wasn't up to the quality of like what a Weebs stream would have been, right? And I get that, and everyone has been super nice and accommodating, so I'm thankful. That being said, just to kind of jump ahead, we are doing a stream for Ascent Ontario, so I promise it will look a lot better this time. It will look a lot nicer, a little bit less shank,
And I will be at Ascent Ontario as well. So
Yeah,
hopefully I'll be
yeah.
too busy to cast, but we'll see.
That'd be nice.
uh,
Well, so we went on a super long explanation there, but that was only one part or one
yes.
experience. I think the second one that's pretty memorable, which was very very recent, was my experience demoing at Anime New York. Because that was the first time that actually that was the second time that I was able to help teach new players, and I feel like this was, I don't know, more magical or about the same as when I tried doing the learn to play back in Southern California near my area before Ultra released, right? Because I was trying to champion the game in our area, and I hosted two learn to play events with Top Spot, which is the store that I used to work at. And we had two really big events and very successful events, in my opinion, where think it was like the first event was 20 people, third event or second event was like 30 people. They all came to play with like Prince and Play, like fake cards basically, and everyone was just having fun. So the fact that I can do basically that but with actual cards, because we were using the new demo decks, that had like the fire and wind
Mhm.
Lorraines instead of just the normal spirits, and sitting there and interacting with people who of all walks of TCG life, right? Where, oh, I've never played a card game, to like, oh, I played Magic for 10 years, and getting to experience all of that. Actually, one of my most favorite moments was I had this sweet old gentleman come by, watched some of us demo, and he just kind of asked like, hey, can I come play, or can you help me learn? I was like, hell yeah, like, let's do it. And I helped this old gentleman learn how to play the game, and he seemed to really enjoy it. We gave him the demo deck, and hopefully that made an impression on him. And so, like, just the amount of different types of people from young to old, and um there's this old stigma that, like, girls don't really play the card games, but at the booth we had just as many girls come in and wanting to try the game as well, so that was very, very cool to see. So just being in person was also very, very, very memorable for me. There's something that was a little bit more recent.
Yeah, we at Gen Con, it was the Maindeck team that helped do the very hastily. Gen Con this last year was like a last minute things that we was able to kind of just
Yeah,
throw together because they happened to know someone who had a booth who wasn't attending or something. So
yeah,
they
yeah.
made it work. And we went ahead and the whole Maindeck team basically volunteered to help with their demo sessions.
Hmm.
And we had a very similar experience, not the same conversion rate, I think, that you had necessarily. That's pretty incredible. So maybe that says something about your demo skills compared to ours. But um, we
Yeah.
we I in particular remember this couple, a guy and a girl, who sat down to play the game together. And if I recall correctly, they were sitting there figuring. I was kind of on the girl side. She was a little less TCG experienced,
Hmm.
and I was letting her kind of figure things out. When she had questions, I was there to kind of like help. Maybe you want to play this thing right now if she asked me
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember she told me she greatly appreciated the sort of like letting her figure things out a little bit as we went. And but by the end of it, then she got to this point where she said, like, I played a bunch of card games with him, but I haven't really been a huge fan of him except this one. I really, really like this. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Those are
I think
those are the words you want to hear, you know?
yes, yeah, like I was like this, that made like the whole experience like worthwhile. Just getting to hear that sort of that people sort of getting the same enjoyment I get out of the game, is that's so gratifying, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I totally agree, and I really like. Oh, so there's a one moment when I was demoing, and so one of my strategies for when I was demoing the game is I like to teach the super elementary levels of the game. I basically skip opportunity for, at least for the beginning, because I just want you to understand how the flow works, right? And then after maybe like a turn or maybe two turns, I go, okay, look, you have a lot of allies, or I have a lot of allies, depending on what happens. Like, there's a card where they're fast, and they're like response cards, and currently you have deflecting edge, or I have deflecting edge, or whatever. And I basically explain how opportunity and that specific card works, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, a lot of them got it, and they didn't play it, but they at least they got it.
Yeah.
But there was this one moment where I also don't explain retaliation, because I try to let the opponent win,
Mm,
right? So I will play
yeah.
very, very safe, very, like, I'll just play one thing, and maybe swing and pass or whatever, right? And I basically let them play, and if they have a question, then they ask, right? So I played an ally. I didn't do anything. He played an ally, and he was like thinking of like, oh, like, where do I want to swing? And that's usually when I explain the retaliation stuff. And then this was also after opportunity. So he goes, okay. So he kind of thought for a moment, and then went, okay, can here, I'll do something, and you just tell me if I'm wrong. And granted, this guy had probably like 1 or 2 years playing like I think Vanguard or something like that. Like something that's like, not magic basically. And he swung into my ally. I was like, okay, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I'll retaliate and kill it. So we'll trade. And he goes, okay, well, can I do this? Well, in response to your retaliation, can I play Deflecting Edge? And I was like, hey, you're learning something, like, yeah, excellent. And I was like, okay, that's great, fantastic. And I died and he didn't. And then the next turn, I decided to level up to level 2. And I was like, hey, by the way, Lorraine level 2 has another on enter. Basically, if I kill something, I get to draw a card. And he's like, okay, cool. I swing to try to kill his allies that is now rested. He goes, I'll play another Deflecting Edge. And I was like,
Oh, got him.
I was like, oh my god.
Wrecked.
So yeah, I just got destroyed, and I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do anything. Even if I wanted to lose, like I actually would have lost. Like I had no more cards to do anything. It was crazy. So it was like when someone can pick up a game like that after a brief explanation, it's just like that's like the super rewarding part for me. When I see those interactions, and especially when they're right and they just like they beam up, right? They smile, they're like, yeah, I got it, and they're super confident about themselves about learning the game too. So
it's those aha moments, right? That's like that's what you
yes.
really want to. I think like if it just like advice for demoing for anyone out there who's going to do it, the goal should always be to kind of set your opponent up to have those moments. And the thing that I
Yeah,
love about
you gotta
Grand
give them the
Archive,
dopamine rush,
right?
Like you gotta tell them like, yes, I did it.
The thing that I love about Grand Archive is that the memory system itself, if you flow through that and kind of explain it for anyone who has like touched a card game before, when they first pick up their memory back into their hand is an aha
Yes,
moment every single time.
yes,
I love that.
yes.
That's my favorite moment of the demo. And they go, okay, now pick this up, and they go, oh,
Well, it's like, oh, you do that. Oh my, okay. Okay, I think 8 out of 10. That's all. That also happens for me. Is like 8 out of 10 times. I go, okay, so was it step? It's like wake up, materialize. Okay, so like step 3 is like your recollection. So what that means is all the cards you just put down, you pick it right back up. And they're like, oh, and they just get it, and
yep.
they're like, wow, that's a cool mechanic, or wow, that's really interesting. Oh, that's super fun. That's great. I love this game, and I agree. That's usually where they also like click, I think.
Yeah, and my other piece of advice is whenever I start a demo, I always start with layering. First thing I explain as I go deep into layers, and I get you
Layers.
totally. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. That would be that would be terrible. We don't
You
do
bring
that.
out the chalkboard and the block, and you go, hey man, this is layer A.
Yeah, we send them to the Academy Guide, is what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yes, I mean there have been a ton of experiences. The other like really minor thing I want to touch on was the trade night at Ascent was like in particular a really cool like. Did you guys set that up? Is that right?
Are
The
you talking about the one on Friday, the day before?
yeah, the day before.
Yeah, so before Grand Archive, personally I haven't had that much TCG experience. I'm actually quite new to the space. I've been around
Oh, really?
like yeah, like I've been in TCGs for about 2.5 years,
Okay.
something like that. So very new. I basically started around COVID, like so 2020, 2021, something like that. And my friend and boss, Chowbo, he's this. No offense, he's off camera, but no offense, but he's ancient. He's been around forever, and he's
played cards on stage.
and he's super into like Pokemon and Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh, like all the card games. He used to play Magic, so he's like the TCG guru, right? And recently when I joined, we were very into Pokemon, so a lot of our earlier content on our channel was very Pokemon centric. We go
Hence
out
the
to
name.
events. Yeah, TM32. Yeah, that's where the name comes from, which is Double Team. For those who don't know, unless you play the new game Scarlet and Violet, which in this case they switched it to Swift, which it just irks me and makes me sad, but it is what it is. And Pokemon they have a lot of collectors, right? I think with the big three, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, they're very player centric. Magic does have collectors, but they particularly go for like the vintage and the older stuff. That's usually where most of the collectors reside. Yu-Gi-Oh! I haven't really seen too many collectors. They're mostly player based. Pokemon has both, right? And that's where, you know, me and Ken used to reside in. And they have trade nights at every event. Every event there is something. At night you just go, people trade slabs, like $1,000 slab, $10 slabs, whatever, you know. It's just common. Like, you go to any
Yeah.
Pokemon event, they just have it, right? And so when we join GA, it's like, okay, well, why don't we have one, right? Like, we not only do we have players, but we also have collectors. We have a tournament. We have Path of Silver, for crying out loud, right? So why don't we do a trade night as well, right? And we were thinking about it, we're marinating it on it, and V-Sply, who is another really big community member, he's the one who started the original marketplace on Discord. He also reached out to us because he also wanted to do a trade night, and so we're like, excellent, we both want to do it, so let's go and organize. um Weebs was down for it too, so they kind of let us do our thing, and I think it was a success. A lot of people showed up. People, even if they're not going to trade, they're just there to hang out before the event, before all the sweaty playing goes on. you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, so it was. I think GA needs a lot more of those, which we are also planning for Ascent Ontario, and Worlds, and like all the events that TM is like focusing on. That's what we're trying to do. We want to trade night, at the very minimum, at least some sort of party, right, where you can just go and hang out and talk GA with a bunch of your friends without the competitiveness and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was there. I got to meet a few more people, mingle a bit, had a drink, and mostly watched our LGS owner who was there and who took fifth place at Path of Silver. Watched him shore up his collection a little bit. He was, he was. There were some happy sellers
Yeah.
who left that evening because of him. Let me tell you for sure.
Yeah.
There were a lot of CSRs and CURs flying around that evening. So it was
Yeah, like
that was a ton of fun though. Like, I just want to say thank you guys for putting that all on. And I think that's going to be like, that is not something that happens in the Magic space. I come from a big Magic background.
yeah.
And I've never in my life been to an event that had like a trade night kind of set up like that. There, it's all Magic players just don't really trade anymore. It's not a thing. They just go like hawk their cards at the vendor and take their cash and run or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a weird situation. I feel like when I used to play more seriously, like 10, 15 years ago, like, I mean, trading was like just a thing that you always did all the time. But yeah, it's kind of a sign of the times.
Yeah, I'm also very like it's like bizarre to me where you go to your local shop and you trade with your friends, or even like a random person that maybe he opened something cool and it's like, hey, like, do you want that, and then do you want any of my cards, and all the like the smaller trades do happen. So I don't understand why when like 1,000 of the same like-minded people go to one event and then they don't do that.
It's always like, hey, you got any trades? And everyone just goes, no.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's just,
yes, yeah,
oh, okay.
exactly, yeah.
All right then. Have a
Yeah,
good day.
yeah. So that's what we're trying to change with GA, is like we want a lot of these events, especially since Weaves of the Shore really are pushing for like the collector stuff, right? Like Path of Silver. So that's what we want to make standard, at least. That's our goal.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens a lot more.
And I really appreciate that quite a bit. So, uh, I wanted to jump to just a little bit of sort of our little giving thanks section here. From a perspective of a content creator, Shinja,
Yeah.
what do you appreciate the most about Grand Archive or Weaves the Shore, what they're putting together here?
Um, the biggest thing is their willingness to work with content creators, right? Now, and I think the big three is a little unfair just because they're just so massive, right? But the fact
Yeah.
that they are willing to reach out to something that business wise may not give them the most bang for your buck, right? So, for example, they do content creator spoiler season. They did it for Fracture Crown, and they did one for ALC, which is set 3 coming out in January. And the amount of creators increased from Fracture Crown to ALC, and the people on that new list were like, they were community members, but just from a pure business standpoint, these people have 0 subs, 10 subs, 100 subs, whatever, right? To where, would you get that much reach by giving them that card versus reaching out to someone else and who may have more subscribers, um, and get more reach that way? And the fact that they're willing to just give it to some of the smaller content creators, not only to help them grow, but understanding that, a lot of these content creators, they are small, but they're hyper laser focused into GA. So it has more impact, I feel like, even if they have a smaller group. So the fact that they're willing to, they know that, understand that, and they want to keep growing that part is just like something that I'm truly like appreciate. Even like me, like our channel, when we first started with DOA, I made one video
Yeah.
about it, and that was just me and that's it. And just, I went to a pre-release for their Kickstarter or Alter or whatever, and I just posted my thoughts, and I was interacting on the Discord. And at the time, TM32 wasn't very big. We didn't even focus on GA at all, and they saw that video and they're like, hey, we'll send you a first edition box. Do you want it so you can make a video? So the fact that, that's just things that they want to do and they keep throwing out, um it's just great. It's just fantastic, the level of support and willingness to help and work with content creators.
I think, another way to frame that is that I think a lot of businesses, and like you said, with the big three, like the larger the TCG is, kind of the higher the bar you just need to meet, just because like Magic literally couldn't give a spoiler to every single Magic content creator. The sets, as big as they aren't big enough, right, to do that.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
at some point they just have to draw a line somewhere. But when you have these sort of smaller TCGs, the kind we focus on our channel, um, there's two different ways to do it. You can either be giving out spoilers to help your game reach out to more customers, or you can be giving out spoilers to help your customers reach out to those content creators. Right? It's
Mhm.
like it's going the opposite direction. Actually, it's intentionally doing something, not in a way to just like try and make money for the company, but as a way to sort of give back to those content creators who are taking time to produce content and help grow their channel, direct more of the Grand Archive players to those channels so that those channels can grow a little bit. And then those content creators can get that reinforcement to keep producing content. And
Yes.
that's, I mean, like, that right there, that's like a community focused initiative. And I think that's such an astute thing to point out, because I think that's something that flies under the radar for a lot of people. Like, those be like, oh, the content creators, they got the spoilers, right? Like, and they
Yeah.
don't think any deeper about it, but really it's just showing the willingness of Weebs to try and just support that sort of loyal base, that's trying to support their game.
Yeah, and I'm and yeah, I think it just relates to me a lot more, and something that I've noticed, because that's where I came from, right? And even now, our channel is like relatively like small. We have like our almost 700 subscribers, which is a lot higher than when I initially thought before even doing this, right? So thank you guys all. But even then, it's still not massive, right? Like, they recently did a sponsor video with like Team Samurai, which is like a
Yeah.
massive Yu-Gi-Oh
Huge,
channel,
huge.
huge, right? And so yeah, they can work with people like that, but they also still choose to work with the smaller creators to help boost them up and improve their content, their audience, and stuff like that too. So um, it's just something that I truly appreciate, as like both as a content creator, but also like as a smaller content creator.
Yeah. And for me, my the thing I really appreciate is similar to that. It's kind of hitting on the same note, but as someone who covers and has covered a variety of different smaller card games in the past, I follow I follow a lot of games like reasonably closely. I only cover like the games that I really am passionate about, but I keep an eye on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I've dabbled it. I've played like every game on the market. I played them all. Um,
Yeah.
and one thing that I really love about Weebs of the Shore is that they almost never give me like negative news that I have to like report or give a comment on or give an opinion on. The thing that Weebs of the Shore does is so far, and like knock on wood, but
Yeah, yeah. Knocking on wood here.
yeah, it's been a history of sometimes some negative things. Like I think like the Fractured Crowns price, like right when it released, how the prices kind of tanked pretty
Yeah.
quickly, because Weebs had made a decision to adjust the drop rates for things, and then found out what the result was. It took them about a week to get out a statement that was like, wow, this is like the best way you could respond to this right now. The removing map, and then the announcement of the redemption program for FTC cards. Um, the Proxies Vault announcement. The even like early Kickstarter announcements, things like we're removing NFTs was like that was like my favorite announcement they've
That was the
ever
first
made.
one that I heard about.
Yeah,
Everyone's like NFTs. I'm not doing it, and they're like, okay, we're just we'll just throw that out the window.
it's there are definitely companies out there, which I won't name right now, who make decisions that I would, if I were a content creator covering them more exclusively, I would have a hard time not putting out very critical videos about those decisions. And I have never felt a need to put out a critical video about Weebs the Shore's choices so far. And that is something I'm thankful for. It's not because I'm like just trying to white knight for them or anything. It's like legitimately
Yeah.
just they just have made good decisions so far. And the day that they do something critical, I will post constructive criticism about it. But like I just haven't needed to, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and I think piggybacking off of that, I think the willingness to take constructive feedback and like marinating it on it and say, okay, well, even though they may not agree with the initial feedback, they identify the core issue and go, okay, how can we help that problem or solve that problem, and make it work, right? So even like Proxy as well, like you mentioned, the Fractured Crown Redemption was like fantastic, major things, but even the smaller ones, right? And like for example, I've been a pretty big proponent in the Discord, like if you've been like kind of mingling of like, hey, like you oh like event so for example, like event pack policy changed from Dawn of Ashes to Fractured Crown before Fractured Crown releases, from like based on order size to kind of based on order size, but you can only get a max of 3, right? Something like that. I'm like, okay, I know that because I just watched you type that on Discord, but 100 other stores may not be watching this Discord
Yep.
as religiously that as I am, that might think DOA was, oh, if I order like 10 cases I get X amount, so therefore if I order like something equivalent to that, I'll get the same amount of event packs, and that was wrong, right? So me just like, hey man, like there's something needs to happen to where you need to be able to effectively communicate that out. And um I think my initial point was kind of misinterpreted, but eventually they understood where I was trying to get at, and they're like, yeah, you're right. And then within like a few days, they publicly announced like the new policy, so where everyone can see that, right? So even like the smaller things like that, where like it is not as massive, it doesn't really affect like global markets or anything like that, but even they're willing to change the little things, which I've been super happy and appreciative of.
Yeah, absolutely. And they even had they had that post recently just talking about how, they're going to be upping their communication in general with stores and every distributor
Yeah,
chain,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff, which, yeah, I mean, GA is still a company that, they came from this Kickstarter, right? And it's a small company, and they're learning as they go. But the key is that they're learning, right? That they are in fact like adjusting their policies and adjusting how they do things to try to do the best thing possible. That's not something that every TCG company does very well.
yeah. The willingness to some honestly, the willingness to even make a mistake, I think, is also very
Mm,
admirable, right? The fact that DOA kind of did pretty well. 6 boxes a case. One in I think the 1 in 30 boxes was kind of brutal. But yeah,
Yeah.
the CSRA was kind of brutal. But they were willing to, like, okay, let's change it to, let's do 18 boxes. 1 in 15 boxes is a CSR, and let's guarantee a CSR. So they made a drastic change, and it failed, right? And they saw that. But the fact that they were even willing to go there, I think just shows a lot for a company.
Yeah. And while we're just on the subject of kind of comparing and contrasting, as I mentioned before, we've seen a lot of Kickstarter TCGs come out, and it sounds like you've done a bit of due diligence into a number of these too. Um, is there anything that we haven't already talked about that Grand Archive is doing, has done, is planning to do that you think really makes this game stand out from the other Kickstarter TCGs? I do think at this stage there are a number of people out there who are still thinking, just another Kickstarter TCG. It's not going to go anywhere. Maybe something like, the which is total, like, take your time, guys. That's totally fine. We got a slow burn game here, I think. But
Yeah.
what do you think they're doing that makes them really like stand out and makes you feel like it's worth jumping into?
Ooh, that's a very good question, actually, and very, like,
Well, I think one thing, we've already talked a little bit about their willingness to make mistakes, right, and their willingness
yeah,
to adapt and try things. Um, and I think that's a pretty critical part of it. The thing that I think stands out to me, I'll just sort of lead you on while you think about things. That um, like I said from the very beginning, when I saw this company, when I saw the cards they put out, when I saw the website they made, um, maybe isn't something that everybody that's either picks up on or maybe doesn't even agree with me on this necessarily, because there could be some taste component to this. But from everything I saw, what I saw was a game that had the kind of attention to detail that I didn't necessarily see from other trading card games. Even ones showing up at the same time, there were a number like that was a turbulent Kickstarter time. Actually, there's a Kickstarter game called Maelstrom that would ended up being a total rug pull. D Spirits is was like doing some struggling, and it still hasn't really materialized into too much. There's like some other ones like that, but like I looked at every other game coming out like that and just thought, like, none of these look like they have someone doing consistent art direction. Like
yeah,
they have like someone
yeah,
like actually doing professional graphic design for the card templates, for the website, for the Kickstarter campaign. And I
yeah,
just saw like the kind of stuff, and I think I said this in one of my very, very, very first videos in Grand Archive, is that like I went through and I looked at the campaign and everything, and I saw like if these people are going to continue putting this attention to detail into things going forward, I don't feel like I have much to worry about. So that was, for me,
yeah.
that was like the big thing I thought.
Yeah, and that is one of my bigger points as well. Is, like, it's Silidar and we talk quite a bit. And for those who don't know, Silidar is one of the lead game devs, and one who did create the game. And he's very, very, very particular about detail about the card. He's always like, anytime I see him in person, he's always like feeling cards of other card games to see, oh, how's their card stock feel? How does their textured back feel? How does their foil look like? He's always doing market research and saying, okay, what does other TCGs do really well, or things that do, like, they kind of fall short on, and how can they bring that into GA to continuously improve their card design, back, physical card stock, stuff like that. Um, but not trying to copy your answer, but I think one overarching example that I think differentiates them is their. How do I need to word this very properly. I think their appreciation and understanding that both the players and the collectors deserve a space, right? So, because with
Mm.
most card games, it is very, very player centric, right? So, for example, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Pokemon, whatever, they all have their player game. Which, if you're a trading card game, sure, like, you should have a competitive aspect, and you should have players, right? So that's pretty standard, I think. So they have their player side, with organized play and Path of Steel, that kind of stuff. But the fact that they took the time to create an index and assign points to foils and non-foils and even the CSRs, and then go ahead and create a whole separate tournament to validate those points and give the collectors who may not play competitively some event to go to and hang out with the players, right? You're not ostracized, you're not, relegated to a corner. It's like you can attend the same event as the normal players and feel like you're actually like competing, quote unquote, at the event. So the fact that they even thought about that and willingness to even try it, and this is good. This goes back to like the willingness to fail, right? Because the Path of Silver could have gone horribly wrong.
Yes.
Their system could have been really bad. Everyone would could have hated it. So it could have been really bad, but the fact that they're like, this is better, like I'll take that risk, and they went for it. I think goes to show a lot how this TCG is a lot different. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is the complete focus on and support for the organized play. So a couple examples to that is they had their first regionals within like 2 months or 3 months of the game officially releasing. What other card game does that within the first year? Right, especially if you're not in the US, or Japan. Like if you're in Japan or US, it's like, okay, you might have a competitive event like at launch or whatever, right? But I was talking to people like Limelight where it said, they're from Australia. They tend to get ignored by
Yeah.
every TCG, right? But the fact that they got their, their DOE regionals and Fracture Crown and Store Champions, all that kind of stuff within the first year of release, I think just goes to show just how like important they feel like their organized play structure is. So that's like the one side, and then to help support that, they released that. So for those who don't know as well, like for context, Weebs is very, very particular about not selling their own like product, like booster boxes and like the booster box specifically. I think starter decks are different, mainly because they want to support the local game store and have them get the revenue and making sure they cultivate their game. Um, but the fact that they released SP1 or Supporter Pack 1, where they specifically said 100% of the revenue from those sales will go towards organized play. And so far, that was a very big thing to do because people may not trust them or whatever. But the fact that said we're doing it, and so far, knock on wood, it feels like they've been doing that. It feels like 100% of those proceeds are going towards organized play. So, Ascent Houston, for example, their prize pool got doubled
Yep.
after the premiere of SP1 at Anime Expo in July. We actually just recently got news that Ascent Auckland's prize pool also increased by 8,000 New Zealand dollars and will also increase again if they hit another reach a certain threshold, right? And they recently announced like the Worlds article, which in that section they said due to the success of Supporter Pack 1, we are now paying for travel and accommodations to all those who qualify, right? So all of this proceeds from SP1 it feels like legitimately going to all these events. So I feel like not many companies like do that, especially in TCGs.
Yeah, and I just want to jump back and I had a quip in my mind and I wanted to get it out there. That's completely
Okay.
it. So you mentioned not many games will put out their organized play program or high level tournaments in the first year. I guess I had two quips in mind. Number one, some of these games are waiting like I don't even know how long. Lorcana is gonna maybe have an organized play program sometime in the next year. I'm not sure. And
Big company, by the way,
yeah,
right?
that is a big company doing that. And just to be clear, they have their own reasons and everything, and I totally understand it. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to miss my opportunity for a quick jab at it because it's funny.
Yeah.
On the same hand, Star Wars Unlimited, a game that I am really excited about, is also
Mhm.
waiting a long time to do their organized play program. Like, I think they should do it a little faster, but that's
Yeah.
but they could also have done it like Battle Spirit Saga and release their organized play program a month before the game comes out. That's the that's
That's like the opposite end of the
that's
spectrum,
the
right?
I'll never understand that decision. I never will understand it in my life. But
Battle Spirits, like it's bizarre. I think when they first announced it, it was very bizarre, and just to put context, and I'm not going to go really much into it, but it's like I think they released like what, March of this year or something like that, and I
Yep.
have not heard about it since. Ever since their launch tournament, at least in my area.
Have you
So
heard about the prices?
no.
Booster boxes for set 1 and 2 are about $20 a piece.
$20.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Set 3 is stabilized a little more, 40 to 50 maybe. It just came out.
Do they have like
But
MSRP? What's MSRP?
100, 110, something
It's a
around
hundred
there. Yeah.
dollars and it's at
Oh
$20
yeah, no, no,
right
no.
now.
It's yeah. This is not the Battle Spirits podcast or anything, so we're not
No,
going to
no,
go into
no.
detail. But
Yeah, but
just
man.
to me, sometimes it's like a count your blessings situation. I feel like it's
Yeah.
like it's honestly what Weebs the Shore has been able to do has, I think, been very impressive for the size of the company, for the competitive the very competitive market that they're in for TCGs, um, and for just simply being a Kickstarter, which like is great for getting an initial burst of money, but then you are stuck with this stigma for a while of being a Kickstarter TCG, right? It's like that's a legitimate thing that is really easy to forget about, but a lot of people will just go Kickstarter TCG, don't want to bother with it. Just it's not real. I don't care.
Yeah,
And
it's like it's unfortunate, that that stigma is around. Even at like come on, we're coming up on the third set of this game, and it's not even close to using the kick. Like they have, it's not like they're kickstarting set 3, right? It's like they're using their own money from their own sales to continuously create sets. So it's like, man, it sucks, but like I feel like that stigma is gonna be around for a while, which is a little unfortunate.
yep, but I think, like we said, they're making great decisions. They're moving everything forward. And I am really excited about the future of Grand Archive. I continue to be excited, and I am very excited to see you guys again in Ontario. Our group will be down there to hang
Yes,
out with you,
yes.
and nationals and worlds. We'll be hitting everything up. So hopefully we'll get to talk a little more at some of those events as well.
Yes. Oh, that reminds me. We are also trying to be at nationals as well. I believe they announced nationals dates yet,
They
or
did.
like the locations. Okay,
Yep, we're
I should
heading
go
back.
double
We're
check.
heading back down to Houston.
That's expected, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, our goal is to also try to be at like at least the major events, so like in the US at least. So Ontario
Right.
we're organizing, so we kind of have to be there. But nationals and then worlds and then any other ascents in the US, we'll try to make it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for what Weebs has in store uh, for the game, for organized play. Like the Omnidex is in beta right now, something that they've been teasing and promising. And it got delayed a little bit, but now it's like I've seen the beta and it looks really clean. And hopefully once it gets fully utilized, like the ranking system that they're teasing about is like, it reminds me of like League
Mhm.
of Legends, which a video game that I play a lot, and I'm like, man, is it time to start rank grinding for TCG? Is this a
Yeah.
thing? Like,
Yeah. Pretty soon there'll be a battle pass that you have to buy too.
yeah, like
Yeah, playing a TCG is already like buying battle passes anyway. It's no different. So
I buy too many of these battle passes, man.
I know they're awful, man. But I can't help it either. So before we leave off here, this has been a really fun conversation, Shinja. I really appreciate it. It's been the
Yeah,
longest
time
I've
has
gotten
been.
to sit down and talk to you, which has just been great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's also I've been meaning to talk to you for a while, and because I watched your videos, and it's just right now it feels kind of surreal to like I hear your voice, but now it's live in my ears. Like it's like a little different. Yeah, so I've this chat has been lovely, and time has been flying by. So
Yes, it has, and I got to get you out of here because it's late. You got to get some sleep after your travel. But I wanted to give you an opportunity, really quick, to make sure we've properly told everyone kind of what TM32 is doing and why they should be heading over to your channel and hitting that subscribe button over there.
yeah, so our main focus, whether it's GA or even like Pokemon before we even got to GA, right? It's like our main objective is to showcase that you can enjoy your hobby or the hobby in your way and in any way, right? It's not just you're a player, you can only be a player, or you're a collector, you can only do the standardized collecting, right? If you go watch some of our older videos, we do some crazy shenanigans Like we've opened Pokemon packs with liquid nitrogen, right? Like that's like the crazy things that we've tried, and we've tried other things that haven't made it publicly yet. Like we wanted to, like, one of the things we were like experimenting with is how many, like, what other creative ways can you open a booster pack. So like liquid nitrogen was like one of those ideas that did publicly make it out, but we did like crazy ideas like, oh, what if we use like a laser cutter and we like laser cut the packs open, and it's not public, but we did a successful attempt where we threw an those throwing axe range
Yes.
places like that you can go. So we threw an axe at a Pokemon pack to see if we can like nail it and try to open it. So we've done stuff like that. So we just want to showcase that like you can just have fun, man. Like you're not here to like follow the norms or whatever. If you have fun in your own way, go for it. That's what we're trying to showcase.
That's awesome. And obviously you guys are going to be a mainstay, at least for the foreseeable future, in the Grand Archive world too.
Yeah,
so
we at least we plan on not leaving anytime soon. So
yes. So definitely, viewers out there, if you are not already subscribed to TM32, make sure you do follow their absolute shenanigans over on their channel.
Some crazy stuff, both in person if you happen to meet us at an event, but also on videos as well.
Yeah, and I think I feel safe speaking for both of us that if you come to these events and you see either of us, just please pull us aside and say hi. Like
Oh yeah,
I love it so
yeah.
much. I love talking to people.
It's even me. Like I have some people at when I was in Ascent Houston come over. I'm like, oh my god, you're Shinja? Like, can you sign my Parsonet, right? And I'm like, yes, I would love to sign your Parsonet. And for context, I was part of Fracture Crown's release spoiler season, and one of the character that I spoiled was Parsonet, which was a unique ally, and the CSR version that came from the event packs. And we tend to be known for like doing skits in our videos for some of these, and
that was a good one.
Yeah, the skit that we decided to do to reveal Parsonet was I dressed up as a maid, and and that came immortalized, I think, as an inside joke. So a lot of people kind of came up and was like, "Hey, can you sign my Parsonet?" And that was like a very cool experience. So if you see me at any events, Ontario National Worlds, or even in public, feel free. I love the interactions.
I had one moment, about an hour period during Ascent Houston when I was not open to be pulled aside and talked to. It was because one of the Maindeck team members, and I'm going to publicly humiliate him, Maindeck Mitch, had left with a group from the bar, and his phone died, and was just completely gone from everyone somewhere in Houston with absolutely no contact. And it was like 12:30, getting close to 1 or something, and we were all just like panicking, like, is Mitch dead?
Yeah, where did he go?
Did he die? Like, he's not responding to anything. We need to know. And I can't remember who. I think someone came up and be like, "Hey, Dan," something. I was like, "I'm sorry. Right now, I'm very stressed about whether or not my friend is literally alive." So this is the only time when I don't want to sit down and chat with people. But other than if my friends are possibly like Schrodinger's cat dead in the box or something, then I'm happy to chat with anybody at any point.
Yeah, and actually, something that came up is I keep memeing. I don't know if it's a meme, but I keep like people have the stigma that I'm like super busy, like 24/7, which I'm not really gonna deny. Like I do have a kind of a busy schedule, especially when I'm like at an event that I'm quote unquote working at. But dude, feel free, like come by, stop me, say hello, take a quick selfie. If for some reason, like Dan, there's some reason why I can't just stop and hang and chat with you for like a couple seconds, I'll come find you. Like I'm more than willing to come back, right? And do figure out my stuff, and I'll come back, and then we can have an interaction at that point. So yeah, don't be hesitant. Even if you think I'm busy, I don't care. I'll make time for you. Just come say hi. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, Shinja, thank you so much. I hope you guys all enjoyed this conversation. If you're in the U.S., once again, have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're outside of the U.S., have a happy Thursday or whatever day it is.
Or whatever.
Whenever you're watching this.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you're going to include this in the video, so I'm just going to say it, and you can add it in a lot. So we, as part of partnering with Weebs of the Shore, we are planning a holiday stream in December. So this will be a public stream. We'll try to celebrate the holidays with both the Weebs, but also the community. No details. We'll release the details a little bit later, but just letting you know, it is happening around mid-December.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and you and I maybe need to talk about that a little bit more too. That sounds fun. That sounds really fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you once again, Shinja, TM32 team, for doing this, and we will see you guys all in the next video.
Bye-bye.